I think propaganda is just political marketing. It's a way of getting your view across, so you can try and get people to see your opinion. So anyone who's doing campaigning, either political or just any sort of campaigning, even some faith groups, they want to change your opinion from A to their view of B, and I think the propaganda is a way of doing that. So extremist groups traditionally have used conspiracy theories as a way of getting their views out. So what they'll do is they'll take something with a small element of truth, and then they'll just blow it out all proportions. So in the 90s, we saw when African refugees are coming to this area, certain far-right groups were using a very small bit of truth about England housing African refugees, and then claiming things like they were getting in front of the housing queue, or they were paying these governments to come over here and house them as a way of eradicating the white population. So these things are based on a very, very small fragment of truth. They're blown up and just made extreme to try and get people on their side.
I think extremism and extremists use scare tactics. So they tend to play on the fears of people by telling them your rights are being taken away, you're not respected anymore, these people are against you. And then they tend to use current events, which may not be part of a bigger picture, but they tend to piece it together like a big jigsaw and say, look at the broad spectrum, everyone's against you. And then they try to use religion as a means of trying to further progress their cause by saying, oh, look, even your religion teaches you to do this, when it's not true. Like the common word when we look at Islamic radicalization is the word jihad, which is used a lot, and it's used very liberally. Like people tend to throw the word around without its weight. And when the actual meaning of jihad is to have it within yourself, to confront your own desires and have self-control rather than go out with a sword or a knife and try and spread Islam by holding people up. So I think when it comes to extremism and how they recruit, it's a lot to do with they play on the fears, and then they use lack of education in some aspects as well to try and get the message across. Because if they feel though you have a certain gap in education which they can fill it with their propaganda or their sorts of conspiracy theory.
At the moment, we're seeing a lot of people spouting conspiracy theories over grooming. So we're seeing people blaming immigration as the cause of the grooming we've been seeing. We're seeing people saying that Islam is fundamentally the cause and result of grooming. So we're seeing, once again here, we're seeing an element where there's a small element of truth, but then people are taking this small element where grooming is happening, Asian men are involved in that grooming, and then saying it's all of Islam or it's all the migrants. And then so they're taking a very sensitive and personal story and then winding it up so that people get very angry and very, very agitated, and then they're using that to spout their hate.
It's about doing your own research as well. Don't rely on what people tell you or you read on Twitter or social media or what someone on the street tells you. If it's something to do with Islam or Christianity, then feel free to talk to your local imams or your parish priests or whoever you can to get some more information. Feel free to get the Quran or the Bible, whichever religion you belong to, or any religion you want to find out more about, and read the scriptures yourself and try to find out more about it as well. And don't fall into the trap of all this conspiracy theory about this whole global elite trying to control the world and oppress you and all that thing, because the more you go into these things, the more it'll pretty much cloud your judgment and you'll think everyone's against you. So
social media plays a critical role in helping us to find out more about each other. Often social media can be hijacked and used or abused in ways that don't help us as people or as society. When groups or individuals use social media for negative purposes, we must learn to ask questions about that, to try and understand what is really happening there. When people share difficult views, then we must ask questions as to where those views come from and what do they mean by that. But I think one thing that we absolutely cannot do is accept things at face value.
As an individual, I think you need to really critical when you see people who are portraying these views. So you need to make sure that, remember that this is just one person's view, and with social media, people managing to circumvent the traditional routes, either through academia or through the mainstream media. we haven't got those checks and balances as much anymore. So on Wikipedia, anyone can just write an article and claim it's the truth, or anyone can just put a tweet out there or a Facebook status and claim that this is the truth. I think as members of society, we need to remember to go, right, okay, I may agree with this, but let's just check the facts. Let's check other sources, see if they relate to this and whether it's true, and whether it is just someone's sort of extreme propaganda, or whether it is a viewpoint that you think you should consider.